Argentina's government has confirmed that the country has signed up to China's sweeping Belt and Road Initiative, paving the way for investments worth more than $23 billion. China has announced its support for Argentina's territorial issue over the British-run Falkland Islands as it welcomed the South American country into its global Belt and Road Initiative following a meeting of President Xi Jinping and Alberto Fernández in Beijing. China and Argentina pledged deeper economic cooperation and integration in the infrastructure-based Belt and Road Initiative, after a meeting between President Xi Jinping and Alberto Fernández. The two leaders agreed to a 5-year plan for agricultural cooperation, focusing on key areas to grow and diversify trade and investment within the sector. The deal concluded at a 40-minute meeting on the sidelines of the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics, is of great importance to Argentina. It comes at a time when the South American country greatly needs to improve its economic performance. The two presidents signed a memorandum of understanding related to China's signature Belt and Road Initiative, which is a platform for Chinese investment in railways, ports, and highways worldwide. Argentina's government said, this strategic decision will allow the national government to sign different agreements that guarantee to finance for investments and works for more than $23.7 billion. Meanwhile, Xi Jinping stressed that China was willing to share development opportunities with Argentina and help it expand exports and upgrade its industries. According to reports, under the terms of the agreement, Chinese financing will be available to Argentina in 2 tranches of $14 billion and $9.7 billion, with Argentina needing to sign up to Belt and Road in order to access it. Argentina and China also announced an agreement to construct the Latin American country's 4th nuclear power plant, just days before President Alberto Fernández is due to visit Beijing. State-owned energy company Nucleoelectrica Argentina and the China National Nuclear Corporation signed a contract for the development of Atucha 3, which will feature a 1,200-megawatt electric reactor and have an initial operating life of 60 years. The project, part of the government's Nucleoelectrica plan, will require an investment of more than $8 billion and create 7,000 jobs, according to a statement. The plant will be located at the Atucha nuclear complex in Lima, in northern Buenos Aires province. Construction works are expected to begin at the end of this year. On the other side, both sides said in a statement they would continue to support each other on issues concerning sovereign interests. The statement backed each other's territorial claims, the Falkland Islands for Argentina and China's over Taiwan. The joint statement says, Argentina reaffirmed its commitment to the One China principle, China reaffirmed its support for Argentina's demand to fully exercise sovereignty on the Malvinas Islands, and for the resumption of negotiations to resolve the disputes through peaceful means in accordance with relevant resolutions of the United Nations. United Kingdom government official Liz Truss has defended the Falklands as part of the British family after China backed Argentina's claim over the South American islands. The Foreign Secretary tweeted that China must respect the Falklands sovereignty after the Argentinian president, Alberto Fernández, met China's president on the fringes of the Beijing Winter Olympics. According to a statement on the website of the Chinese embassy in the UK, the two leaders spoke of their deep friendship, and Argentina signed up to China's Belt and Road Infrastructure Initiative, a state-backed campaign for global influence. But they also signed an agreement in which China reasserted its support for Argentina's claim to the Falklands, while Fernandez backed Xi Jinping's One China policy, which claims Taiwan as its own. The statement said Argentina should be able to fully exercise its sovereignty over the Falklands issue. Truss said, "We completely reject any questions over sovereignty of the Falklands. The Falklands are part of the British family and we will defend their right to self-determination. China must respect the Falklands sovereignty." Chen Weihua, a journalist for China Daily, an English-language newspaper owned by the Chinese Communist Party, replied, "But it's okay for UK to challenge China's sovereignty in the South China Sea by sending navy vessels? At least China has not sent its navy near the Malvinas, or what you call the Falklands." Recently, Argentina's foreign ministry has labeled a new military deployment by the United Kingdom in the Falkland Islands as a new and unjustified show of force and a deliberate departure from the calls of the numerous resolutions of the United Nations and other international organizations. The ministry statement also pointed out that Argentina rejects in the strongest terms the new deployment of British military weapons in the Malvinas Islands, after the installation of the new generation ground-based Sky Sabre anti-aircraft system was reported. The new system replaces Rapier-type missiles and triples their range, according to military experts. Argentina's ambassador to Brazil Daniel Scioli has filed a note expressing his country's concern over British military aircraft stopping en route to the Falkland Islands. The Argentina government sees with surprise and concern that during the course of the month of January 2022, 7 military flights of these characteristics were carried out, the diplomatic document included. According to Argentinian sources, 7 British military flights have been carried out from Brazil to the Falkland Islands and back so far in 2022. The British military units have stopped over at Rio de Janeiro, São Paulo, Porto Alegre, and Recife in January. The ambassador said, "These flights constitute an additional manifestation of the illegitimate military presence of the United Kingdom in the South Atlantic, which has been described by the member states and associates of Mercosur as contrary to the region's policy of attachment to the search for a peaceful solution to the sovereignty dispute." The Argentinian government also pointed out it did not oppose humanitarian missions but was addressing only the issue of flights with a strictly military purpose. The Falklands are a self-governing British overseas territory that has been under British control since 1833. Argentina and Britain have long disputed ownership of the Falklands, with Argentina claiming sovereignty over the islands it calls the Malvinas. The dispute led to a brief war in 1982 in which 255 British troops and about 650 Argentinian soldiers died. The disputed islands are nearly 13,000 kilometers from the UK and just 480 kilometers from Argentina's southeast coast and home to some 2,600 people, mostly of British descent. Buenos Aires has said 2022 will be the year to raise awareness of Argentina's sovereign right to the British overseas territory, which is known in Spanish as Islas Malvinas. Argentina has been accusing Britain of obtaining the islands in a blatant exercise of 19th-century colonialism and demanded they be handed over to Argentina. Argentina tried to recapture the islands in 1982, prompting Britain to send a naval task force to reclaim the islands at the cost of the lives of 255 British and 649 Argentinian soldiers. Contrarily, Britain is always saying the 3,000 residents of the Falklands had a strong desire to remain British. Argentina's diplomatic officials said the UK's measures were new acts of hostility and insisted on the South American country's peaceful vocation and permanent and constant will to resume negotiations with the United Kingdom in order to reach a definitive solution to the sovereignty dispute. Furthermore, in comments made by a member of the territory's Legislative Assembly in a year marking 4 decades since the conflict, Argentina is accused of worsening relations with the Falkland Islands in its use of bellicose rhetoric. Roger Spink, a member of the Legislative Assembly, told the media, "We're a small population that continues to be bullied by Argentina. Back in 1982, we were no threat to anyone, but we were invaded by a neighbor who took freedom away from the people of the Falklands. We were liberated 40 years ago from people who wanted to impose their will against the will of the people." He also pointed to Argentina ignoring requests to set up flights to Chile for Chilean islanders to visit family as evidence of bullying tactics, while at the same time Buenos Aires demands such a link for itself. His comments are criticized by the officials in Argentina. It seems that China will continue to support Argentina over the Falkland issue in the international arena after receiving full support in Chinese investments in the country. It is time to share your opinion. Who is right on the Falklands dispute?